Neil Fawcett, let's get it. Woo!
Woo! Yeah. It's R2R. It's R2R. Back to riches. Back to riches. It's R2R. It's R2R. Back to riches. Back to riches. It's R2R. It's R2R. Back to riches. Back to riches. It's R2R. It's R2R. Back to riches. Back to riches. Got my call from the R2R. Farmers going up, Brody, check the chart. In the loots, buying all these plots. Thomas G and Mike got the chat on lock. With a drip and pause. Got these dogs and pigeons, from me, I'm ready to score. Got me a bag of the rich and hard, I think I need more. Group got me in the wave, now I'm swimming the shore. I'm up to the core. It's R2R. It's R2R. Back to riches. Back to riches. It's R2R. It's R2R. Back to riches. Back to riches. It's R2R. It's R2R. Back to riches. Back to riches. It's R2R. It's R2R. Back to riches. Back to riches.
Yeah, dog. Welcome to R2R live stream number 56. Wreck to Riches live stream number 56. Happy hump day, everybody out there in the crypto space. Happy Wednesday to you guys. Welcome. Listen, we're dual streaming. So if you are on YouTube, we got 4 people on YouTube, 6 on X. You got to post notifications, smash the like button, drop a comment, get the YouTube algorithm going. If you're over on X, right, you got to repost, you got to like, and you got to comment with hashtags Titanx, hashtags build on Titanx, hashtag Titanx bull run, hashtag DragonX, everything that has to do Titanx. Get the X algorithm going, which X seems to have like a superior algo when it comes to YouTube. That's for sure. That is for sure. All right. So always remember, not a financial advisor, for damn sure not a professional. This is crypto. You got to do your own research. Don't ever allow an influencer on any social media platform out there to influence you when it comes to crypto. You could lose it all. We're lucky this code even works, right? Right? Let me take it. You know what? I drink Ghost energy drinks every day. By the way, 0 sugar, like 2 grams of carbs. The flavor that I have today, that orange cream, oh my gosh. Killer, bro. Killer. All right, so we're going to start off by looking at stats. We are going to talk about Warp Protocol. All right, we're going to talk about Warp Protocol. Yesterday, we did a vote. Where I asked the community. I said, hey, look, community, Titanx people, which build on Titanx Protocol should I cover on tomorrow's live stream? Let's take a vote. So it was between Warp X and between Pulsar. And out of 85 votes, Warp won. So we're going to do that. You know, I do those types of votes periodically to determine, what I'm going to talk about on a live stream. It gets the communities engaged. It tells me what community is more excited. It gives me, a heads up on the sentiment and the hype behind a particular protocol versus another, which ultimately could, factor in my decision. Like, should I go into this or go into that? Well, let's see what the community has to say or thinks, right? And, that's where the money's going to go. That tells me where the money's going to go, especially, if it's a big, a lot of votes come in, a lot of views, then I'll know. People are excited about this, right? Versus this and that. But before we move on, we want to look at the price of Bitcoin and the price of Ethereum. All right. We're going to take a look at the overall market, but we can't move forward. We just can't move forward. You guys know your boy Thomas G is a Bad Bunny ambassador. Swap X is coming in December. You got 30 days to download your free app with Bad Bunny and start tapping to earn. My thumb, it was hurting. Now it's like it's used to it. I got like the pain between the carpal tunnel and the soreness on the thumb is gone. I got hundreds of millions of XP points, but no risk. It's free. Check it out.
Dog. It's Thomas here from R2R.
Welcome to the Bad Bunny Tap to Earn free game, where you can earn your free airdrop by simply tapping your screen. All you got to do is follow the instructions in the description of this video. Step number 1, no laptop computers, no desktops, anything like that. You're going to need a smartphone. Step number 2, if you don't have Telegram, download one and log into your Telegram account, or simply log in if you have one already. Step 3, click the link below in the description, and it's going to take you straight to Bad Bunny, where you can tap to earn your free Bad Bunny meme token airdrop. Let's go! All right, instructions and links in the description of the video. Let's get to the chat. Armored One Hump Day, what's going on, bro? Thanks to you for stopping by. What are the odds? Every time I'm doing a live stream, Jake's over there with Mo. They're live too. If you want to go view them, they're with a few founders from Morpheus and some other people talking Titanx platforms. Right, I was just watching them before I went live, but the show must go on. Bitcoin, $71,968. It's minus $755 right now in the red as we speak. Hey man, we had a good day yesterday. Everyone was excited, right? We're in a bull market. October is here. October came late. Let's take a look at Ethereum. But better late than never, right? It was late to the show. It knows there was 2 days left, and we got some price action. Especially if you're in Pulse Chain, you're in Titanx, leverage plays on the Ethereum blockchain token with the $2,700, and here we are down, but we're up plus 43 from where we hit down here. So it's a beautiful day still, some greenery in the scenery. Now I don't know if it's true, but people are saying the markets are reacting because they think good old Donald Trump is going to win the elections. Well, let's get into the stats that are important for our ecosystem within the Titanx ecosystem. This is massive. 40 trillion, 24 billion, 34 million, 155,525 Titanx is liquid, right? When this gets below to 39 trillion, to 38, to 35 trillion, you're going to start to see it should happen now, right? When there's always a delayed reaction, but this is a big deal on the amount of tokens that are not liquid anymore. They're being bought and burned by all these build on Titanx protocols, guys. Bought and burned. Even today's platform we're going to talk about is going to contribute to a particular token I've been very bullish on, which is Hyper, right? But for Titanx, you're going to see this gap and the delayed reaction and how that's going to affect the price of Titanx going forward. So at 40 trillion, when we get to 35 trillion, people will be like, all right, we're going. But when we get towards the end of November, when you're sitting down, all right, think about it right now. I always think about the future ahead of time. When you're sitting around the Thanksgiving table on Thanksgiving and you're enjoying, your drinks, whatever elixir that you like, your turkey, your ham, your mashed potatoes, whatever you eat on Thanksgiving. Or if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, whatever you're doing on Thanksgiving Day, it may not be a day that you celebrate, whatever. Black Friday comes and you head into that weekend after being with your family, you're thinking Christmas. We're going to be in a whole different atmosphere. We are going to be in a whole different atmosphere. We are going to be heading into December, which is a huge drop off to practically no Titanx coming out in December, right? This in 30 plus days, it probably is going to be roughly 30 trillion Titanx, if not less. And the FOMO is going to be, it's not that there's going to be FOMO. It's that there really is not going to be enough tokens going around. And you're still going to have build on Titanx protocols coming out left and right. And you're going to continue to feel more and more like, I don't have enough to go into this. I don't have enough to go into this. And the alternative is going to be the other tokens that are derivatives and leverage plays, right? For example, Hyper. I talk about Hyper a lot. Let's look at the price of Titanx, though, really quick here. And just sit back and reflect every price point we've hit, all the emotions, and what has consistently pushed the price up to this point is the amount of tokens that are being bought by the machines, by the smart contracts. The humans trying to keep up with that, trying to continue to hold supply. I mean, we're losing the battle. More and more comes out as far as build on Titanx. But let's take a look here at Hyper, right? The opportunity that people do sleep on. They're sleeping on Hyper, they're sleeping on Hydra. All right. Right here, a $4.6 million market cap. Hyper. I want to show you the big difference on why supply shock with Hyper, especially now that we have builders like Mike Dean that are building to help Hyper. Now we have the Warp team that we're going to cover is going to help Hyper as well, and how the supply shock is going to hit much differently. You see, we have all these build and Titanx protocols that have been fighting the hyperinflation this whole time and are the most beneficial going into hyperdeflationary for Titanx. Well, with Hyper, it's had its supply in a chokehold with what its buy and burn's doing, right? It's self-sustaining and keeping its inflation in a headlock with just its own protocol at this point. When you add, what Warp's going to do, we'll talk about shortly here. When you add what Mike Dean's going to do and what future build on hyper protocols are going to do, it's going to really extract a lot of this liquid supply that's, we can roughly say, like 35 times less, to be a conservative number, not accurate, less supply than Titanx, and what it could do as far as a parabolic move when Titanx goes hyperdeflationary and the price goes up. It has so much movement that it can do, so much room to move with just a $4.6 million market cap, heavily bonded to Titanx. All right. So there's only 1.2 trillion versus liquid is 31.28% versus burned 41.32%. Right. So the opportunity of a lifetime passed for many users that didn't get into Titanx early with miners, that didn't participate within its ecosystem. The ecosystem is creating more opportunities within its own ecosystem with tokens like Hyper. And that's why I'm excited to talk about Warp today, right? But let's take a look at the stats here, right? We don't have builders. It's coming. Build on Hyper. You'll see here 0%. Build on Hyper protocols. It's coming. It's coming. And it doesn't have a ton of supply. It doesn't have 40 trillion tokens out there. All right. That's the power behind why it's going to be a very powerful compounding mechanism within this ecosystem to compound for more Titanx. Let's go. Love watching while at work. Hey, bro, I appreciate you tuning in. Pound the like button. Pound the like button. So Hyper being very important to me as an investor in Titanx ecosystem. If we go back to the Titanx stats page here, you can see scrolling down, Hyper's number 3. Ranked Dragon X is 1, Hydra, Hyper, the Vault, and Lotus, Ouroboros. You can see the whole list, right? You can see the whole list here. The interesting factor to me, too, is day 369 just happened, right? Exactly what we talked about on this channel, too. How Eric was going to get this Ethereum, and he's a human. He controls the smart. It's not immutable. He's going to decide when and where this ETH gets spent, at what price point, how much, how often. So day 369 was a very big, like, it's coming. But the hype was just hype, right? I guess you don't want to call it just hype. It was excitement, but it was not like there was going to be fireworks at the end of the timer and Eric was going to start using all this Ethereum. It split its Ethereum. Remember, 8% went to their Genesis wallet for this big payout. 462.99 ETH is in the buy and burn smart contract to buy and burn Dragon X. 462.99 ETH is in the buy and burn smart contract to burn Titanx. Okay. So that is going to be structured and used whenever he sees fit. And I'm okay with that not being spent right now. I think most people are too. Because when he does kick it up, it's going to be beneficial. But right now, the main focus, and he said it himself out there publicly, the main focus needs to be the buy and burn and utilizing your Titanx to get into Hydra, because the Titanx buys Dragon X, that Dragon X buys and burns Hydra. If you go to the stats page here, Dragon X is getting burned. It's going down lower and lower. So to keep that Ethereum in the back pocket on its site to use, I believe the best time to use it is when ETH is up. I am in agreement with him, because obviously if he's not using it right now on the big day, hasn't even touched it. It shows he's keeping that ace in his hand, no different than with the buy and burn scenario, which is controlled by Jake with the V1 sitting in the back pocket. Right? Why spend it now? Wait till Ethereum starts to really peak out. Now, for the moment of truth, we're going to talk about the Warp protocol. Okay? This is going to be a build on Hyper protocol. What's going on, Big? Let's go. Vault, Lotus, let's F and go. Right? Lotus, what's the price of Lotus? We'll take a look at that in a bit. But we want to talk about Warp. Let me pull my face off here so you just hear me speaking and you can see the screen more, right? So this right here, as you see, Hyper is boldly going where no build on Titanx Protocol has gone before. Come on board with us to infinity and beyond. And I'm excited for this, okay? I'm a heavy Hyper mining investor. I'm making 88-day miners still. I'm making miners that come out prior to that, making sure I'm getting Hyper miners January 1st, January 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and so on, all the way to match up to my day 88 and on by making them daily. And there's not a lot of inflation, guys. There is not a lot of inflation with Hyper. It's peanuts. Let me show you again. It's peanuts compared to the 40 trillion with Titanx. Look at this. This is nothing. This is 1.2 trillion. And the buy and burn has $5.6 million in it and is growing. People need to stop sleeping on Hyper, but I think this is going to bring more ETH to the table to fill up the vortex, to fill up both the smart contracts overall that are being used for the buy and burn. Warp is going to be the first of many to come. And when the hype comes to Hyper and the price reflects that, all you'll see is higher ROI and people will want to go in more. And the price to make Hyper miners is still 0.2 ETH, which still makes it, something that's very intriguing to go into. So jumping into the Warp fundamentals, users will mint Warp tokens in the first 7 days with Ethereum, Titanx, Hyper, and Tink, right? So now you have an engagement from two different parties, right? With this factored in. You have ETH users. Obviously, we want new ETH users, but you have the current Titanx users that can come in, have the option with ETH and their Titanx, and Hyper, which Titanx and Hyper represent Jake's platforms, right? Tink happens to tickle Eric a little bit, right? That's part of his farming platform, Tink. No better way to get on the Titanx farms to get support there by scratching Eric's back a little bit and using Tink, right? I think that right there is going to pull a support factor from Eric himself, an endorsement. Hey guys, I like this. They're building on Tink. Awesome. So that's going to get like an endorsement, more users to be like, let me check this out. 28% total Hyper burned for the buy and burn fuel and Portal starting day 89. Does not include Hyper burned with Vortex contribution through miner creation with ETH. So you're hearing verbiage as far as the Vortex. Similarities to what the smart contracts are doing right now for Hyper and Hydra. And this is what I'm reading and what I'm feeling at this point because I'm familiar with that verbiage. The deflationary token, galactic scale, buy and burn, full token distribution happens in 7 days. 7 days. Boom, bada bing, bada boom, over and done within a week's time. Okay, I like that. That's half of the amount of time for Morpheus. That's 3 days less than the what was it the 10-day auctions for Vault. Am I thinking the right thing? But it's fast and it's furious, right? It's 7 days. Liquidity bonded with Titanx and build on hyper protocols. The warp drive ensures perpetual auctions with deflationary tokenomics. So we have some auctions going. ETH token distribution will allocate warp to drive the portal. So we'll understand what all that is as we move along here. But just know this is going to be probably heavily, like I said, endorsed by Eric and Jake. Jake's baby, second baby Hyper, is going to have something that's going to be built on it. He's going to market this heavy. He will be talking. He could be talking about it right now on Mo's channel for all I know.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So, Warp ready to send Hyper in a new and extremely deflationary dimension. The entire Warp token will be minted with Titanx in the first 7 auction days, with no additional tokens created afterwards. This makes Warp deflationary in a little over than 1 week. Deflationary in just 7 days, guys. That's just in time. If they launch very soon here, that's just in time to get in with your tokens before everything starts to go hyper deflationary, super pump mode, right? So the max supply, I really like this. It's not a billion. It's not a billion tokens. It's actually 700 million. The exact would be 749 million. Liquid wallets, $35 million or 35 million tokens. It's going to be paired with protocols built on Hyper with Titanx. Starting liquidity, right? If you people want to buy Warp, because I think people are going to buy Warp like they bought Lotus. People want to buy liquid. They're seeing the success rate and are feeling what just happened, right? Buying Lotus was epic if you were able to catch that as far as the price point where it launched at. So that token will launch to be purchased once the 7 million tokens are paired with Warp and Hyper. So expect Hyper price to be doing some things when this goes live, because you're going to need to buy Hyper to buy Warp. So 7 million tokens paired with Warp and Titanx. So there's going to be 7 million tokens that are going to be paired with Hyper, 7 million tokens paired with Titanx. So 2 different liquidity pools, Titanx and Hyper. Stage 1, so that's days 1 through 7, is 100 million Warp tokens auctioned daily, similar to Vault. So if you're a Vault user, you've seen this, and you're like, I'm familiar with that setup. Stage 2, which is 8 days onward, all auction Warp tokens come from the Warp drive. I would imagine that's like the treasury if you've done Vault before. Similarities within the features here. Here's the ETH distribution. 30% of Warp in daily auctions allocated to ETH as input. So buy and burn fuel, which we'll go over that, 22%. Warp drive, 40%. The portal, 30% of ETH creates 1,000 power, 88-day max miners to be used to buy and burn a Warp. That's pretty cool. Genesis wallet, 8% allocated, 30% to Genesis, no expectations, right? And then you have your token distributions. I would recommend checking out the white paper here, because it's going to include the Titanx, right? The docs form. 30% of Warp in the daily auctions is allocated to Titanx. Buy and burn, 55%, 30% Warp drive. Liquidity bonding, 7%. Genesis wallet, 8%. Hyper's got the similar numbers as well, a little bit different. Token distribution for your Hyper, 30% of Warp in daily auctions, 45% for buy and burn fuel. Warp drives 4%, liquidity bonding 7%, 8% Genesis. And then Tink, It's a little less than the rest. 10% of warp and daily auctions allocated to Tink as an input. Buy and burn 85%, liquidity 7%, 8% Genesis wallet. So let's learn what this warp drive actually is. Is it some kind of new tech? Is it anything different? Let me check the chat really quick. Is the input token Hyper or Titanx? It's Titanx, Hyper, Tink, and then they showed ETH as well, right? Go back here. You're going to want to read the docs here, right? You see ETH as an input token. You see Token X as an input token, and Hyper and Tink. That's under the token distribution, to answer your question there. All right. Jump into the warp drive. Now I'm curious if this is like some kind of new type of technology. I haven't read this far, so I'm learning with you. Warp drive. Let's see the perpetual auction system. Let's get right to what it is. So the warp drive source after the initial 7-day period. The warp drive is the exclusive source of auction tokens. Initial boot up. The warp drive begins with 0 tokens. Daily auction, 20% of the tokens in the warp drive are available for each auction day after. So this is like Vault's treasury. If you knew what's going on with Vault, you'll know what the warp drive is. It's kind of the same mechanics, right? Daily auction, 20% of tokens in the warp drive are available for auction each day after day 7. Adding fuel, tokens enter the warp drive when purchased via Warp's buy and burn fuel mechanism. So for the fuel efficiency, so here's the differences. 40% of ETH, Hyper, and 30% Titanx tokens acquired from the liquidity pool through the buy and burn fuel are sent to the warp drive. All right, so there's certain differences here. Some key mechanics. Deflationary mechanics. Speaking of mechanics, buy and burn effect. The daily buy and burn operation lowers the token count, gradually reducing the available supply for future auctions. Permanent supply reduction. The mechanism guarantees a lasting decrease in the total warp token supply. Hey guys, I'm just gonna say right now, like this is gonna pop off and do really well. I got to put a heavy bag into this. I already saw, what went on with Vault, a structure that's similar. That idea obviously was inspired to make Warp with some different tokenomics. That explains the entire Titanx ecosystem. One good idea turned into like a bunch of ideas that just added a little bit of their special sauce and tokenomics, right? And everything is like a close cousin. Very few protocols are distant cousins. They're like close first and second cousin protocols to each other. So everything that comes out that's different has different aspects. Like here, you're dealing with Hyper and Tink. The thing is, you're dealing with Hyper, which is the first build on Hyper protocol. So the support's going to be massive. I think the support's going to be there. I think Jake's going to drive this home because it's very beneficial. To build on Hyper has always been said. It didn't matter if anyone did it or not because build on Titanx protocols help Hyper. So when you build on Titanx, you're helping Hyper. When you build on Hyper, you're helping Titanx. And that's a big factor. I believe Jake's going to be all over it. I can't tell you for sure. I think as far as marketing and talking about it, he's going to be on it. Deflationary auction system. The warp drive enables Warp to maintain its deflationary mechanics while simultaneously supporting the auction system. Arbitrage incentives. The auction system creates arbitrage potential between the auction, and you can read more on that. Let's take a look at this buy and burn fuel. All right. Hyper fuel, lab tested by the founders and ready to burn. So once the warp ship systems are installed, the warp drive will be engaged buy and burn fuel mechanism. So here's the numbers for this. 22% ETH, 55% Titanx, 45% Hyper, 85% Tink value allocated to the buy and burn fuel mechanism. 3 components, not including Genesis portal allocation. So buy and burn is 45% of tokens purchased from the liquidity pool, LP are burnt. 30% of the Ethereum Titanx Hyper tokens purchased from the LP are sent to the warp drive for future auctions starting from day 8. Buy and bond, 5% used for liquidity bonding with warp, hyper, and warp Titanx. So the features to keep adding liquidity to keep helping build that LP and burn it. Portal, 30% of ETH used in auctions will create a max hyper miner. When claimed, will distribute to an additional cosmic buy and burn. So 88 days later, that hyper miner will be claimable and it's going to be distributed just to buy and burn down the road. So you have this big, massive miner that's made. It can be, whatever the amount that they extract here could be a big, massive miner, but it has benevolent intentions to just be used to buy and burn, which is the hyper. That's pretty cool. It's way different. Way different. Initial buy and burn days 1 through 7. You'll see here 50% used, 45%. Day 7 drops off to 25%. All the fun math for you to read and calculate in your minds, right? The portal. Kind of curious about what this portal is. Not sure. Let's see. Portal is designed to allocate ETH collected from auctions and direct 30% to start max hyper miners, and will be used to buy and burn warp. 1,000 power, 88 days. I see. So those miners after 88 days down the road are going to be are going to buy up warp with the hyper you get at the end of that miner and burn it. Hey, I like it. ETH from daily auctions will be allocated to warp drive, buy and burn. ETH will be allocated to the token distribution. So I will say this, it's a lot to digest, right? It's a lot. If you can simplify it in your brain, I think the easiest way to simplify it is if you're a Vault user, there's a lot of Vault minus the names of certain things. And there's additional mechanics, additional twists, special sauce added on top of this. And like the portal and the auctions, things are named differently. The miners being created. Just know that to simplify things, you got an entry, input tokens, ETH, Hyper, Titanx, Tink. The distribution phase is going to be learned during the first few days of the system. People are going to see it play out. And you learn everything on the field, man. You really do. I think right now, for me, I'm looking at everything. It's a lot to read, a lot to soak in. And the big thing that I like is down the road with those miners, right? I mean, the hyper miners could be worth a lot. I think hyper miners 88 days from now are going to be worth a lot. That's why I'm making them. But to use that hyper and buy and burn warp later down the road, that's going to be beneficial like 88 days out. Almost, 30, 60, 90, 3 months out. 3 months out. So that's a big help. Auctions, get your ticket to board the warp ship, right? Auctions are daily. It's a hyper deflate. Let's see the duration of the full integration of the new hyper fueled warp speed engine, 7 days. Once all warp is minted, guys, at the end of day 7, the warp drive will be ready to continually convert ETH, Titanx, Hyper, Tink into the field. It needs to sustain daily auctions and embark its daily trek between Earth, Hyper, and City. Auctions are 24 hours. ETH, Titanx, Hyper. Tink auction will open last 2 hours of every daily cycle. That's a cool little twist. So they mainly want to get in ETH, Titanx, and Hyper. Last 2 days, you can compete with Tink, right? During the first 7 days, there's 100 million warp tokens up for auction daily. 30% allocated to ETH, 30% allocated to Titanx, Hyper, Tink. And yeah, I mean, I could read all this for you. I think you guys can get into that. I want to give basically my feedback my honest thoughts here. I always drop it like it's hot, give you the truth. Um, so now that I'm reading this, digesting it, they got the audits here. See, is there audit here? I don't know if it's available yet. Early on, when this protocol heard about it, we saw Steve jump in the chat. He was angry, called it a clone. The Vault people were furious, right? And the founders were like, "Hey, man, we're here to work with everybody and make changes to make Steve happy, Jake happy. We want this to work." So they made their changes. The changes do implement key differences to Vault, right? I think Steve realized early on that Vault wasn't perfect, so he made the pillars and has been out there and spoken out loud and said, "Hey, this pillar that's coming out is better than the original Vault. It's a Vault on steroids." So his idea has evolved to continue to get better and better. Warp has taken that idea and they have done something to benefit the ecosystem with Hyper and has some key differences with miners and allocations and input tokens. So they're doing a good deed here. I would imagine that a lot of Volt users will be very interested in this. It's the first on Hyper. You got Tink involved, so you're going to get support from everywhere. Eric, probably Jake, Steve. Steve has already went and flipped the script from being upset to supporting them. So they've gone that distance. They've gone through the phase of FUD and people being upset, and everyone seems to be happy and excited. So I can't wait because now I know what this type of setup can do as far as the type of gains it can bring to the table, right? And that's all I care about is the gains. What am I going to get out? What can I get out of this, right? And the founders are docs. They're doing live streams, all that good stuff. I'm cool with that. I'm definitely cool with that. So I will be participating, and I think it's going to be a big contribution when we check out the stats here to start to burn this up. Imagine when Hyper goes below 1 trillion tokens. Imagine. If you don't have enough Titanx, you sure as hell don't got enough Hyper. You sure as hell do not have enough Hyper. And let's look at the ROI. 223%. 0.2 ETH to make those miners. At an 88-day length, 100 power. Hey, man. I'm just saying. Don't sleep. I want to take a look, too, at certain price points and other platforms really quick here. We'll pull up 39 minutes for Morpheus, by the way. Let's go look at the prices of everything like we normally do. Morpheus, volatile moment. If I'm being honest, Morpheus is going to be like the next Dragon X by design. So you can claim your tokens and dump them at a loss. That's a beautiful thing. Get to day 14 on your after 1 day minters and beyond are going to be very excited. I'm telling you. Take a look at the price of Lotus. I don't think Lotus has had its big day sell-off yet. Could happen after staking or right before. I would say people have a decision with Lotus, right? When the first staking payout happens. When is that going to be? Day 8, 3 days from now? Do they want a piece of this action? Or they want to sell their profits in Lotus that they have, right? You can stake your Lotus tokens and earn Titanx rewards. But I've played this game today. Actually, I collected my day 369 payout. I put it back into Hydra miners. But you got to think, with the price of Lotus being this high, you got a big decision on do you want to put that into a smart contract and get Titanx payout? Or do you want to grab these massive gains right now while they're on the table and the LP is a little bit thick? You see, it's not good when the LP is this amount and the market cap is literally, what is it? Whoa, 10 times, 10, not just 10 times higher. Can you believe that? The market cap compared to liquidity. The market cap compared to liquidity. You got to think about that for a second. The market cap compared to liquidity. Look how many times larger it is. Yee. I'll tell you the math right now. That's why a major crash will happen, which is inevitable. I mean, if you were to think it wasn't going to happen, then I don't know what planet you're from. But I'll do the math for you right now. I'm going to do it on the calculator. It literally, this is like the most, it's 94 times greater, I believe, if that's the true math. I'll tell you right now. Yeah. The market cap to liquidity ratio here. You have to put this into perspective. This market cap versus liquidity ratio is 94 times greater than the liquidity pool. So it looks good on paper with the market cap, like, oh, we went from $1 million to a $30 million market cap. I've played meme tokens and I've seen these LPs. So when the sell-offs happen, that market cap drops and people start to sell because they're looking at this as like a huge measurement. Like, oh, we're at $15 million market cap. No one looks at the LP. The LP is not paired to ETH either, or Titanx. It's paired to Vault. So when this sell-off happens, because it will, by design, it's a mining token. It's supposed to. I've been trading my gains out, but I didn't catch $1, so I'm holding on to some because I feel like we still have time on the clock before that stake payout. So I made a fortune on trading this token. I'm happy about that. What's your suggestion for someone that has 2 billion Titanx coming soon and just received 1 ETH from the payout? Well, I'm not a financial advisor, but that's all you got. Doesn't hurt to just hold. You know, it's a lot of options, right? Doesn't hurt to just hold. Buy and burn doubles tomorrow and triples Friday. I think after that, probably a bigger correction. I'll tell you the numbers right now, and you can tell everybody I told you, because you can treat this like a meme token for the simple fact of the LP versus market cap ratio, right? And you can look at it like a meme token because the amount of tokens that are going to come out from miners soon here between now and like the 8-day payout, you can draft that up on a spreadsheet and do the math. It's almost like when a large distribution of the tokens that a founder has sells and a meme token corrects, or the large wallets. That's why meme tokens correct 50 to like 75 to 90% corrections, and the good ones recover. This will recover, but over the period of time, as far as the miners coming out, it's going to have the same chart as Titanx, the same chart as Hyper, but this is going to be like a massive correction. So the community will go through that period and they'll be like really upset if they didn't sell. You'll just be mad at yourself, if you didn't sell. That happens to a lot of people. And then you're going to have everybody in the chat that's like, we told you so. This is mining. We're going to win. You just got to mine. So when this event happens, you got to take it from the top, right? So 50% from the top, literally, if you want to measure the $1.34 wick, right? So as a 50%, I would deduct another 50 for like a 99% drop. So we will see quickly here to a 0.33, but more supply is coming out. So you're going to see this chart come here, and it's going to be about a 3-cent token for going into the new year, and then it's going to gradually go up and then back down, up and back down. There's going to be protocols that are going to help it as well. But these charts don't play out any different from the beginning of time. You can't just assume that this is going to be entirely different because of the price point that's happening right now with low liquidity, right? These sell-offs happen. And I got caught up buying Titanx here to stake. So I got my day 369 payout today. It was like $1,000 after being diluted by Dragon X. It would have been a lot more if that never happened, obviously. But I got caught up for staking, buying here, right? To stake, to earn those big payouts. I haven't recovered that. I'm still 10x away from recovering that expense as far as what the price did. So you got to remember the chart has showed what happens early on with miners and inflation, plus the hype with staking. People were buying here to get into staking. Now, there's probably not going to be an entity like Dragon X to come and dilute you in your Lotus or whatnot. But inflation is going to be the end game of what happens. It's going to do this, and then it's going to recover. These are mining protocols. They're going to have things built different, I understand, but you're not going to get any different result based off just the mechanics and the way by design. More inflation comes out, and it goes down, and then it trades sideways for a while and has a gradual growth. So enjoy the Lotus gains. I made a lot. A lot of people made a lot, but you got to look and see what's going to come. This to probably about here. I would say easily probably 3 to 5 cent, 7 cent range. Just trade off here. It's going to trade off wherever your miners are going to probably be about 100 to 200%, whatever price point that is. Whatever price point that is. And it will gradually make its way back up and recover. Let's see. 20,000%. 20,358%. You spent $587 for a market value of $120,000. You got 10 of these. That's $1.2 million in value. The liquidity, $324,000. Half of that is Lotus. Half of that's Vault. So just look out for that. I think there's still time to gamble it, to hold on. I'm still holding on. I've sold quite a bit. Like I said, by the time I get out of this, I would have made what I would consider life-changing gains to do it strategically. To strategically do it, not just dump in one shot, right? Set up single-sided LP to get out, respect the chart, but not all people are going to do that. That's just not how people work. By just human greed. And I will pull. Listen, if I see a drop here, then yeah, I'm going to pull off a single-sided sell order and probably market sell if I don't cash it in time. But if I can do it slowly and get these these numbers here, I still feel like I have a couple days until this will play out, just like all the other minor protocols, and grow back over time, which is healthy. That's what it's supposed to do. And I'm rooting for the price to sustain. Hopefully, I don't have to market sell because the big scary dump's happening, right? And we got a Vault. What's Vault doing? As far as the ratio, that's all I'm really concerned about. The ratio dropped a lot. Yeah, it sure did. Fell off a cliff. Came here, recovering. It was about 36,000 coming back up. So that's the story there. That's the story there. Let me tune in to see Mo's stream. I think that's where I got a small crowd today, but again,
constant basically, right? But
they're
it's
talking right now.
price is in Titanx. So essentially, like when the price of Titanx increases, it just disincentivizes people to start again, or it's just way more expensive to start it, right? So is that the way how to keep like the system somewhat like
Yep. 100%.
deflationary in some ways?
I don't know what they're talking about. Late to the party there, but there is that stream going on right now. A lot of users are over there. Definitely, people are asking me to cover the RH case tomorrow on Halloween. I got an interview tomorrow on Crypto Talk number 4. Don't forget to to prepare for that tomorrow. Let me see what time it starts at. Let's see what time it starts at. Let me pull that up here. So if you are a Pulse Chain user or interested, tomorrow, what is Pulse Capital? I'm doing that interview with the team, Moonshot Max, and a few other team members. We're going to cover that protocol, an opportunity to get into something on Pulse Chain. If that's your, your chain that you like to be on. A lot of people don't. A lot of people are there. A lot of people don't care. But I'll be interviewing that team for an interview, for an opportunity for people if they're looking into that. Other than that, slow crowd today. I'm going to end it early, 10 minutes early. All right. Don't forget to smash the like button. Drop a comment. Till next time, we shall do it again. Yeah, dog.
Lady LaFosse, just get it.
It's R2R, it's R2R. Back to riches, back to riches. It's R2R, it's R2R. Back to riches, back to riches. It's R2R, it's R2R. Back to riches, back to riches. It's R2R, it's R2R. Back to riches, back to riches. Got my call from the R2R. Farmers going up, Brody, check the chart. In the loots, buying all these plots. Thomas G and Mike got the chat on lock. With a drip and pause. Got these dogs and pigeons, farm me, I'm ready to score. Got me a bag of the rich and hard, I think I need more. Group got me in the wave, now I'm swimming the shore. I'm up to the core. It's R2R, it's R2R. Back to riches, back to riches. It's R2R, it's R2R. Back to riches, back to riches. It's R2R, it's R2R. Back to riches, back to riches. It's R2R, it's R2R. Back to riches, back to riches.